guys, it's Ashley and welcome to day 8 of my 12 days of BOOKMAS video marathon. Today I'm going to be reacting to the video that I put up, I think it was January of this year, called 20 Books I Will Get To in 2020. I thought this would be a fun thing to do because I've seen a lot of other people react to videos that they made in the past, like 5-star book predictions or things like that. So I just wanted to see like how many of these books did I actually manage to get to this year, because not once did I actually refer to this video when making any of my TBRs this year. So I thought this would be an interesting, fun thing to do. So I have it pulled up on my screen here. Let's watch it and see how many books I got to. I don't think it's going to be a lot, if I'm completely honest with you. Okay, let's start watching this cringe-worthy video. Do you ever just like look at your bookshelf and just stare at it with all of the books on it and think, my god, I should probably get to some of those sometime soon. And then instead of doing that, you just pick up the book that you're currently reading that just came out 2 days ago, or a book that you've read 10 times before, and you just keep going and you just forget about what you just thought about. I do. A lot. I already hate myself. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing the 20 books that I am hoping to read in 2020. The title of this video is probably going to be 20 books that I will read in 2020. But I am not being that optimistic in the video. Outside of the video, sure, let's say it. But in the video, let's be realistic here. These have been on my shelf for a while now. Is it possible I'm gonna get to them in 2020? Yes. Will I 100%? God, I hope so. The first 2 books that I have to share are kind of a no-brainer for this sort of video because this is one of my favorite authors of all time. The first of which is Our Dark Duet by Victoria Schwab. Nope! Alright, so 1 out of 20 is a bust. I did not get to Our Dark Duet this year, though I did talk about it on my books I really want to reread video, I think, where I mentioned how I want to reread The Savage Song to prepare for Our Dark Duet because I don't remember anything about that series. So I didn't get to it, but I had it on my mind. And the second Victoria Schwab book that I am hoping to get to in 2020 is The Archived, which is one of her earlier series. Again, I did not read The Archived, although it was on my October TBR, I think. I had every intention to read it, and then for some reason in October I read anything but spooky books, so it is what it is. But I did mean to read it, and I didn't get to it, so we're 2 for 2 here. The next book that I've been meaning to get to for a while, because everybody on BookTube freaking loves this book for reasons unknown to me, is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Now, the first one I've gotten to! The third book that I mentioned is The Night Circus, and I read it. It took all the way until I think October to read it, but I read that bitch. I read it and I loved it. The next book on this list is one that I have not really talked about, I don't even at all on my channel. I don't know, but every time I see it on my shelf, I'm like, ooh, I should pick that up, and then instead I reach for something completely different. But that book is Heart of Iron by Ashley Poston. Not once have I thought about this book, not once have I like really looked at it and been like, oh yeah, I should read that this year. Like, not once did I even have it in my head to pick up this book. I think I still have it on my shelf. I can't see it now, so it might be on those bookshelves over there. So I don't really know why I put it on this list. 3 for 4 I haven't read. Is that how the saying goes? I don't know. I'm already tired of this. The next book that I'm hoping to get to in 2020 is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. Okay, I did get to Carry On. I got to Carry On. I reread Fangirl and I read Carry On, and I didn't really like it as much as I had hoped I would. And that's all I'm gonna say. Let's move on. Everybody and their mother loves this book, and everybody has been telling me constantly throughout the years to finally pick it up, and I just haven't yet. I know now that there's a sequel to it. That's really funny that I said that because I really don't think that anybody has been telling me to pick up Carry On. At least since I filmed that video. I don't know if before that people were like constantly commenting like pick up Carry On, but yeah, from my memory, I really don't think that anybody was saying that. Oh, I don't know why I said it. I'm making myself cry. Oh my god. Stop, Ashley, stop. The next 2 books on this list would not normally be on this list, but I am trying to read a little bit more like out there in my reading horizons, I guess. I've kind of turned on to thrillers, and I'm trying to get into some of the books that I hear people know and love, and for me, those 2 books are classics that I already had on my shelf, and that is Pride and Prejudice and Emma by Jane Austen. Okay, yes, I did get to Pride and Prejudice and Emma, so that's good. But why did I talk about murder mysteries and thrillers before I read This is me criticizing my past self rather than me actually talking about the books that I read. Why was I like, oh, mysteries and thrillers, blah, blah, blah. Here are Pride and Prejudice and Emma. Out of context, that just sounds really weird. Maybe I like was thinking about something else when I was, wait, let's go back a little bit. Okay, I just rewatched that segment and it made more sense now. I'm so stupid. I was talking about how I'm reading more murder mysteries and thrillers and trying to branch off into books that people know and love, and two of those books that people know and love, not that are murder mysteries and thrillers, are Pride and Prejudice and Emma. Anyway, yeah, I read both of these books this year. I really loved them. I've talked about Pride and Prejudice in like multiple videos I've already put up for this marathon. So as of now, how many books? 4 books I've read so far. Next on this list is A Reaper at the Gates by Saba Tahir. I'm not gonna talk about this one. Just kidding. Every time I see this book in the series, I just feel really bad because I have mentioned like so many times this year in so many TBRs, probably like 3 or 4 of them, that I was going to reread An Ember in the Ashes and A Torch Against the Night to read finally A Reaper at the Gates. And I just never did. And every time that I said I was going to, and I never did, I would feel bad, so I would put it on the next TBR and I would do the same thing, and then I put it on the next TBR and I would do the same thing, and then eventually I just felt so bad that I stopped mentioning it. So, that's my history with that. We will get to this series in 2021. I promise you that. So the next 3 books on this list are a trilogy that I'm hoping to get to in 2020, and I am counting them as 3 separate books because they are 3 separate books. But they are one series, and that is The Kane Chronicles by Rick Riordan. I did get to The Kane Chronicles this year! Yay! I lost track of all of the books that I've read, how many they were, but add 3 to that number if you're keeping track, and that's how many I have. I read The Kane Chronicles specifically so I could make a reading vlog for them, and I'm really glad that I did. I've been putting them off forever, and this year was my year, and I did it! So I'm proud of myself for that. The next story that I'm hoping to get to in 2020 is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I did get to We Were Liars as well, and I didn't really like it. Sorry. Book number however many of 20 is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. Nope, did not get to Strange the Dreamer, did not have a single urge to read it this entire year. Not sorry for that one, because I tried reading it once and I just felt like I was too dumb for the books, but I'm going to try again at some point. I just don't know when. Now time for the chunkiest book on this list, and that is Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. I didn't want it to come, but I knew it was coming. If you've seen my wrap-up videos where I talk about the first half of the books I read this year and then the second half of the books I read this year, none of those books are Queen of Air and Darkness. If you don't know my history with the story, I actually started reading it back in March. I got like 200 pages in, maybe possibly that far, and then I just stopped reading it because I had planned on vlogging it, and then I didn't start vlogging it, and then I felt bad that I wasn't vlogging it, so I took a break and decided I would restart the book so that I could vlog it, and then I never restarted the book or vlogged it. And then I told myself I wouldn't start Chain of Gold until I read Queen of Air and Darkness, and so because I never read Queen of Air and Darkness, I never read any more of Cassandra Clare's books other than The Lost Book of the White, and if you've seen my disappointing books of 2020, you know how that went. This year was not a good Cassandra Clare year for me, but I don't know. I'm probably not going to put it on my TBR for next year, just because every time I seem to put it there, I never read it. But we'll see what happens. The next book on this list is one that I'm literally still kicking myself over that I haven't gotten to yet, because I read the first book either, it wasn't last year, I think it was 2 years ago, and it was so good and I've talked so much about it. And the sequel to that book is Wondersmith, The Calling of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend. Yes, I did get to this book. As you all know, I've mentioned it already in other videos. I did get to it. I even got to Hollowpox, and it was great. And I'm definitely not going to put off any of those books that come out any longer. I'm going to read them as soon as they come out because I love the series so much. The next book that I have here that I'm wanting to get to in 2020 is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. Why did I put Red Rising on this list? What the hell? Again, another book that I have on my shelf but literally have never thought about reading this entire year. So that's an interesting take, Ashley. Okay. The fourth from last book on this list, but the second to last one that I'm going to talk about, because the last one is actually a trilogy, so that's why, is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I have thought about reading this book this year, and I just never ended up picking it up. It's one of those books that I feel like I have to read other books before I can sort of graduate to that level and get to it, which is an absolutely absurd way of thinking, but that's how my brain is working right now. Like, I'm thinking, oh, if I can get through the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson, that's a good, like, YA high fantasy, like, intro to Brandon Sanderson's work that will then let me graduate to the next level of fantasy. And that's just not how it works. You can read whatever the heck you want. I don't know why my brain in my head works this way, but that's how it works. So I haven't picked up The Name of the Wind because I feel like I should finish Mistborn first. I really don't have to, but that's how I feel. And the last series and the last 3 books that I have in this list of books that I will get to in 2020 is Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. I knew this was the one that was coming last, the Mistborn trilogy, which I just talked about after the last book. As you guys know, I read Mistborn, but I didn't get to the other 2 books, so it happens. So I'm not gonna play the rest of the video because there's just really no point. Those were the last books that I mentioned. And I didn't put a list of the books in my description as usual at the beginning of the year. So I don't know how many I had read off of that list because I wasn't keeping track, but I'm just gonna go through really quick and count them. So I'm gonna cut the footage and then you'll be able to see how many I read in just a second. Okay, so I just counted and I actually read exactly half of the books that I mentioned that I would read this year. I read 10 out of the 20 books that I mentioned, which honestly is more than I thought that I had read. So I'm really proud of myself. I really thought that I was only gonna have read like 5 of them, but 10 is I'm okay with 10. I'm planning on making a video called 21 books I will get to in 2021 because I did enjoy making the video I just watched and also making this reaction video here. So I'm hoping I can do that again next year and maybe increase my goal from 10 books I read off of that list to more than 10, so we'll see what happens. But if there was a book that you guys said that you really wanted to get to this year and you either did or didn't get to it, let me know in the comments what happened. But yeah, so I think that's actually going to be it for this video. If you want to follow me on any of my socials, all my handles are in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching day 8 of my 12 days of Bookmas Christmas video marathon thing, and I will catch you later. Bye!